Let's talk to Scott in Arkansas. Scott, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. I've been listening to you for a few years. I'm a first-time caller. And, I've seen these rolling blackouts coming a while back. And, I went ahead and got myself off the grid and solar and wind power. But it wasn't just to save money, on our light bill or anything. It's to get ready for what's coming down the pike, as you well know.
Yeah, I'm trying to move to solar myself. For people that don't understand this, the globalists are going to use environmental rules, they've stated this, to shut down most of the power plants. Only a few that they own are going to be able to operate, and they'll supply a lot less electricity at a higher price. It's called artificial scarcity, and it gives them the power over you. Dictators are always obsessed with limiting the amount of electricity you get. It's all part of their control. And so they're now announcing in the U.S., Europe, and England that they are going to not be giving us power at night now. And the head of the Energy Department announced hundreds and hundreds of plants to be shut down. It's totally sick.
Where does these smart meters play in? When are they going to
smart meters go together like a horse and carriage. Yeah, they said, well, during power restrictions, because there won't be enough power because there's not enough power plants, they'll decide you can't have your house at 80, it's going to have to be at 90, or they're going to turn your power on and off, and they admit this, and they're going in all over the country. Again, imagine somebody 20 years ago if you told them, in America, the government is going to control your thermostat. You would laugh at them. But now, if you're against the government turning your thermostat on and off, you get laughed at by the yuppies. They're like, rolling blackouts are freedom. Having the government run my thermostat is freedom. Having telescreens telling me to spy on my neighbors in Walmart is freedom. Having the government try to make me take forced inoculations is freedom. Having my IQ lower is freedom. Having cancer rates explode is freedom. Taking the pension funds is freedom. We like it. We love it. And so I'm like, yuppies, enjoy yourselves. You're going to get all the blessings of globalism, all the blessings of being stylish and cool.
Well, they've had years and years to destroy their brain cells, so I guess they're reaping the harvest now. Anyway. Back to solar. I tell you what.
I'm sorry.
Those damn globalists, I tell you what, them whether as they want to call it geoengineering, I just call it chemtrails. They sure are making it hard on me, thank you.
Well,
there's clouds up that sky where my panels are really having to work overtime. That's why I'm glad I got a windmill.
Well, I tell you one thing, you can skin a buck, you can run a trot line, a country boy can't survive, because you can't starve us out and you can't make us run. I tell you, you are the type of person the globalist hates, Scott, and I love you. Good to hear from you. Yeah, I remember about 16 years ago, 1995, started getting the reports from environmental scientists and others that they were doing the water test and test on Mount Shasta, you name it. Suddenly there was aluminum dioxide, barium salts, and other weather modification chemicals in high amounts in it. And then scientists reverse-engineered, we reverse-engineered that it was chemtrails. And now they have it in USA Today. Oh, yeah, we're mixing it with the jet fuel to block out the solar radiation to stop global warming. It's a big secret program. Don't worry about it. Enjoy it. I mean, can you imagine the power trip the globalists are on? They've got 30 to 50-year advanced technology. Lord knows what they've got, and we're just in the way now. They want us out of the way so they can have it all for themselves. It is abundantly clear that the globalists are trying to trigger a destabilization campaign in the Middle East, North Africa. It is 100% confirmed that they are triggering the revolt against Muammar Gaddafi, the overthrow of Hosni Mubarak. Now Saudi Arabia is into 2 weeks of riots and banning protest and tanks driving around, tear gassing people. I mean, this is getting crazier and crazier by the minute. And the underlying cause is dollar devaluation, increasing food prices worldwide because every major currency is pegged to the dollar. And meanwhile, the IMF and World Bank have been going into these countries and pressuring them to cut food stamps, to cut food allotments, knowing that that will even exacerbate it more. Then they send in their people to trigger rebels trying to overthrow the government. And that's why Muammar Gaddafi says Al-Qaeda is behind the chaos. And he says that people trained who were held at Guantanamo Bay, thousands have been held there on and off again, are the ones leading the attack. Well, that actually fits with what we've seen in other nations. They, quote, get these people, brainwash them, train them, prepare them, and then send them out. But then you tell the average American, hey, Al-Qaeda works for our government, even though the evidence is overwhelming. They're like, oh, sure it does. It's incredible. I mean, who would ever imagine that it was something that sounds so crazy? But if you look at the history of it, they used Al-Qaeda to overthrow the Serbs in Kosovo. They use Al-Qaeda all over the world to trigger crises. And what is Al-Qaeda? It's the CIA computer database name for Muslim extremists on their payroll. Okay, let's go to your phone calls. Stephen in Florida, you're on the air.
Yeah, hey, Alex. You know, I was thinking about everything that we're up against in this battle with the globalists. And, you know, to me, you got it nailed on the head with the subtitle of your site where it says there's a war on for your mind. And, you know, this is the thing I find is the number one obstacle that we're up against because there's so much psychological warfare going on. And the average American, they have no clue as to what this is. You know, I'll say to people all the time, you know, look at TV. And I get the same response. I say, why do you think they call it programming? And they'll laugh. And then all of a sudden it's like this light clicks on and they go, you know, you're right. And, you know, you've pointed out about the device itself with the flicker effect and how now they're finding early Alzheimer's in people because of it shutting down your brain and putting it in sleep mode.
And by the way, we've got Dr. Nick Begich on tomorrow just on this subject, the hundreds of patents confirming that they can not just lower your IQ, lower your overall cognitive ability, or lower your overall brain waves. They can actually program you and physiology. They can manipulate the physiology of the body with these systems. And we have a culture for 50 years that watches 5, 6, 7 hours of TV a day, not just with the overt message of the programming, but also the overall subliminal messages. That's why the average yuppie automatically giggles at you when you bring this up to them, because they're in a dreamlike, trance-like state.
Right, yeah, you're exactly right. You know, and I've just really been trying to talk to people about this, because here's what I see. What this all comes down to, it's eugenics. Now, you pointed out all this stuff about, you know, then the food and the water and how they're spraying us. So they're incrementally making us sick and trying to kill us. But it's the more deeper thing because it's so much more subtle and stealth-like, and that is the psychological propaganda and the whole mode of warfare that these people are into. They're masters at it, as you pointed out.
Well, that's what I was thinking last night whenever I was watching the Battle for the Pacific newsreels, was it was the same way the military systematically encircled the Japanese. That's what the globalists are doing to us. They systematically roll forward, creeping, running their programs. They're basically adding toxins in our food, water, air to dumb us down so that we're basically so brain damaged and so acclimated that as we move forward, you know, towards the huge extermination programs that are coming in the future, where they release these mega plagues and blame it on Al-Qaeda or, you know, the flavor of the day, that then people will expect this as almost prophecy or a foregone conclusion, because in all the high schools and junior highs and TV and everywhere, they're teaching us that it's beautiful that man is soon going to be extinct, and that it's a foregone conclusion, that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so the globalists are going ahead with this plan I know about it. You know about it. They've written their plan. But how do you get brain damaged and also chemically but also electronically mind-controlled people to hear what you're saying? Or even if you can wake them up, then how do you get them to have enough respect in themselves to believe that they can resist this? I mean, listen, you talk about conformity, Steve. I had a New York magazine reporter here last week, and when I talked about Bohemian Grove and Luciferianism, he started laughing at me. And I said, well, even if you don't believe in God and the devil, you know, they do take it serious at Bohemian Grove, but he still thought it was funny. You know, to him, it was funny. And, well, finish your point. I'm going to make a point. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, you're talking about the way people react because they're programmed, they're conditioned. I remember years ago being in a defensive driving class, and here they had the segment on drunk driving that they always show, and these kids were sitting there. You know, I was older than most, and most were teens, but they're showing about these two little girls who had gotten permanently disabled in an accident caused by a drunk driver. And these people sitting in the room are laughing. And I'm just thinking, what is there funny about that? And yet they just think it's a joke because, and here's what I think it is. You're talking about solution. And this is one reason the Tea Party movement happened and, you know, on and on and on. But people are seeing things now coming closer and closer to their door. Unfortunately, in America, we live by the mindset, out of sight, out of mind. As long as it doesn't come to my door, I don't have to deal with it. But I think people are starting to get really scared. They can't put their finger on what's going on, but they know something's up. And if people like you and me that have the right information can come on and appeal to them on a human level that they can emotionally relate to as well as psychologically, that may be enough of a spark to wake them up because, you know, we're all humans and we can all live in relation to each other. But I'm like you, Alex. I look at this and sometimes you scratch your head and go, man, what is it going to take to wake some of these people up?
Well, wonderful call, Steve. Please call back because you really laid it all out crystal clear. And I've told the story about World War II vets and people who didn't like watching violent movies. And it wasn't because they were wimps. It was because they'd been involved in reality. And so they didn't think watching somebody get chopped up or tortured to death was funny. Meanwhile, you take a domesticated, decadent, weak teenager who's had everything handed to him in life, and they go watch a movie like Saw or Hostel, where people are being tortured to death and being killed, and it's so cool, it's so wonderful. The torturers are even moral. They have some weird reason they're doing it, and they sit there and giggle and laugh at it. And it's just like people that sit there and giggle and laugh at seeing disabled children. It's very fashionable online now to abuse animals. There's all sorts of videos everywhere of the compliment of a good-looking woman kind of kicking a dog or being mean to a cat or something like that, and people get off on that. They're self-hating at a core level. As Victor Hugo said, prosperity, adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. And so this always happens in societal, cultural cycles. People then want to be destroyed. They want to go into bondage. They want to laugh at evil. They want to laugh at corruption. They want to make a joke out of everything. And don't worry, they will get hurt. And then once they're in the jaws of the tyranny, then they're going to squeal. Then they're going to beg and plead. But never until they've actually reached that point, because they haven't lived in reality. And never have we had a population more divorced from reality, more separated, more disconnected. Sure, you've got lots of people that are waking up, but those that aren't waking up are getting deeper into their delusion.